Okay, we are given that measure of angle 3 is 30 degrees, that angles 3 and 2 are complementary, which complementary means that these two angles add up to 90 degrees, and that measure of angle 2 is congruent to measure of angle 1, and we need to prove that measure of angle 1 equals 60 degrees. So here we're given kind of the steps of how we're going to get from the beginning givens. Oh, my laser's not working with me. The beginning givens, and we need to fill in the reasons as to what this is happening. So let's follow the logic. So we're given measure of angle 3 equals 30 degrees. We are just given that information. So we write given. Measure of 3 and 2 are complementary. That's given. Later on, I bet that we're going to see that we're going to define that complementary is 90 degrees. We can see that right here. Okay, complementary. And that the second thing we have is measure of angle 2 is equal to or congruent to measure of angle 1. That's given. So now let's go ahead and define these reasons. So we already saw that measure of angle 2 and 3 are complementary. That means that they add up to 90 degrees. Okay, so we're going to call that definition of complementary angles. So right here, let's draw one here. I'm going to write definition of complementary angles. Okay. So now we have measure of angle 2 equals 90 degrees, and we have a 30. So let's backtrack that. Okay, well, what happened between, can we see that measure of angle 3 equals 30 degrees here, and we have a 30, because this first line we had measure of angle 3 and 2 equals 90 degrees. And the only thing that's changed right here are these two items here. So we actually substituted this value of 30 that was given for measure of angle 3 for angle 3. So we're going to call that substitution. Or that is called substitution. Okay, so substitution. All right, now, what happened between lines 5 and 6? I see that we still have measure of angle 2 here, but on the right-hand side, the values have changed. So if you look, 90 degrees, if we subtracted the 30 on each side, then we would get a 60 degrees. So we're going to come over here to the algebra. This is the addition property, because we're adding or addition. Here we go. Adding or subtracting. Addition property of equality. It could also be the subtraction property, but in the drop-down box here, that's our only option. Since we're just adding a negative 30. Okay, so of equality. Okay, and then our very, very, very last thing is, okay, so now we have measure of angle 2 equals 60. So what has happened here? We have the 60 degrees on the right-hand side. Now we have just transferred. We've changed measure of angle 2 to measuring of angle 1. And we can do that because we're told that these are equal, or they're congruent right here. The measure of angle 2 and measure angle 1. So we've just substituted this right here. But that, because they are equal. So we are going to call that transitive property of equality. Okay, so that is transitive property of equality. 1, 2, 3, and 4.